Hi and welcome to another episode of Tim and Terry. I'm Tim.
I'm Terry.
Today's guest is an actress who has graced the stage and screen.
That's right.
Her credits include Winners and Losers, Neighbours,
Yes.
Miss Fisher Murder Mysteries, The Heights, Underbelly Files.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God.
Did you ever do an Underbelly Files?
No, I never did. I was never in a file. No.
McLeod's Daughters, Horses and Girls. What about that one?
No. I've never, no. I was never in them. No.
MDA. I was in MDA.
Were you in
Yeah, I
NBA?
was actually.
For real?
Yeah, someone actually paid me to be an actor once.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
It was a challenge. I actually played a married man. So, All Saints, Janus with a silent J.
Yes. Oh,
God.
we're bringing it back.
Miraculous Mallops, A Country Practice,
Careful.
Rafferty's Rules. 56 episodes as a character called Tootsie in Murder Call.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
And film
Yes.
credits include Jindabyne, Deck Dogs, The Man Who Sued God, The Nugget, and my personal favourite, Howling 3, The Marsupials.
Why are you taking it back like this?
Look, I've got bad taste. On stage, she's appeared in Neil Dunn's Steaming, Willie Russell's Shirley Valentine, The Life and Adventures of Nicholas Nickleby. She's an actress, director, teacher who's inspired many students. But it was in 1985 when she exploded into our television homes, when she jumped out of a divvy van, hollered at the top of her lungs to an entourage of bikies for over about 100 episodes, 106 episodes, I think. And she actually had the honour of saying the very last line in the series, which was, "Sick be buggered. I'm going to be the oldest biker in the world, Lurch. The oldest biker in the world." Of course, the show was Prisoner. And Terry, our guest is...
The one, the only, Glenda Linscott.
Hey.
So much. You make me cry.
No.
What an introduction, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for coming, Glenda.
Oh, it's it's always amazing to hear your career or bits of your career back to you. Go, oh my God, did I do that? Oh, I did do that.
Yeah.
I did do that. I did that. I did. Oh my God, I did. I am actually really blessed that I've had an amazing career. But this strange thing, and I think you can relate to this about being an actor, is that you never really feel like you're having a career at all.
Yeah.
You're just in the moment going, I'm doing the work, and, the reality is extremely difficult. And you just keep trying to show up and do your best. And then you hear a list like that and you go, wow, I've been very fortunate, very blessed, very lucky.
Do you ever think, like, sometimes you forget, like, of course, like, you've done so much of a body of work that sometimes, and of course, it's been years upon years upon years, it's been decades and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And so, hearing that, do you sometimes go, oh, yes, I did do that?
Absolutely.
Oh,
You probably
yes.
heard my gasp. I went, oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Oh, Jane, that's right. See, the thing is, a lot of those projects you just talked about happened in the 90s. I think Prisoner, which was my first ever professional role, was 86, 87.
Yeah.
And then there was a lot of television and theatre in the 90s. And, really extraordinary work. But, a lot of those are just guest roles in an episode. So you do that for a month or less than a month, and it's done. And I think one of the kind of hardest things to come to terms with as an actor in Australia is that there's seemingly no continuity of work. I'm sure if I was, if I'd made the decision to jump ship and go and start my career in the UK or the US.
I was about to say, yeah.
That I think because the size of the industry is so much more in overseas than it was in Australia, certainly in the 80s and 90s. Although, talking about Australia in the 80s is a very interesting subject because, of course, the film industry, the miniseries exploded.
Booming,
in those huge. But I was devoted and decided that I wanted to develop my career in Australia and develop the Australian voice, and that was the choice I made. But it didn't mean that I had a consistent, trajectory through. There was certainly, even though you've read out all those amazing roles, wasn't anything that would kind of sustain you.
Yeah.
To just have the privilege of just working on your process and developing that. There was a part of my creative trajectory that had to find a way to survive and pay the rent. And that's where the teaching came in. And, I was very fortunate that the Actors Centre, I did have a year in the early 80s in London, and I did class at the Actors Centre in London, the London Actors Centre, which was developed to allow for professional development for professional artists. And I did amazing workshops. I worked with Prunella Scales on restoration comedy.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
I worked with Juliet Stevenson on Shakespeare. I worked with some astounding people and classes there for the year that I was in London at that time. And that was really early 80s. And then when I moved back to Sydney, and Dean in 84, 85, he said, I'm going to start the Sydney Actors Centre. And I went, oh, I'm there.
Yes.
I'm totally there. I'm
Yes.
there. I'm there. I'm in there. I'm in.
Yes.
I'm shut out. I want
it.
to do it. I just wanted to be in the work. I'd finished NIDA several years before, graduated in the late 70s, but I still felt like I was hungry. I didn't know what I wanted more.
Yeah.
And after a while of doing improvisation classes, whatever classes were on offer with Dean, he came to me and he said, I reckon you'd be really good. You should teach. And I went, beg pardon? So I was like 23 or something, And I said, but he said, oh, you've been to NIDA, you know what to do. And I remember I had a role in a New England theatre company regional tour in New South Wales. He said, just read a couple of books, you'll be right. So I did. I found every book on acting I could find. I never read any at NIDA, by the way, and I wasn't interested in. But I did.
Do you remember
read,
which books?
Yeah, it was Viola Spolin, Improvisation for the Theatre, and it was Uta Hagen, Respect for Acting.
Oh, yeah, I've got that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
you got it?
What was that one that we always used to read? The Cecily Berry?
Cecily Berry, Voice in the Actor,
that's
and that
one.
was the other one. That was the other one because I was extremely fortunate to be invited back by NIDA as an alumni 5 years after I graduated to do a month with Cecily Berry.
Oh, okay.
And so that workshop, that month of intensive voice training and intensive Shakespeare, which of course is my, that's I always thought that I would be a classical actor because of my size and my passion for classical.
And you end up beating people up.
Right? But let me tell you this, I want to come back to that because I think Shakespeare teaches you how to play those roles. Teaches you how to have the size of the imagination you need to bring into television. So years later, way after I trained you, Terry, I wrote a year-long how to act for fast turnaround film television, and I started with Shakespeare because if you know how to play, Coriolanus, Macbeth, those huge roles, those huge things, and the size of that and the high stakes scenes, then you can go into a Marvel universe. You can go into, a prisoner episode and play the size of that betrayal, or the size of that injustice, and that absolutely gave me the ground. So Cicely was. 3 intensive weeks on Shakespeare, which I just freaking loved. And then she said, and now if you can do that, you can do anything. And then we had a week on extremely contemporary theatre stuff and just apply all the techniques to that. So I went, oh my God, and at the same time, I was training at the Actors Centre with the likes of Lindy Davies, discovered her process of impulse work and dropping in, which its lineage goes back to Peter Brook and Grotowski. So
VCA were huge on impulse work.
Oh,
weren't they?
because of Lindy, because Lindy brought that from her. I mean, you really need to talk to Lindy. She will explain that as a 17-year-old kid in Melbourne watching La Mama and the buffy Australian theatre that was emerging in the 70s in Australia. And she saw, I forget which one now, but it was one of the...
Timbula.
No, for one of the major festivals.
Oh, right.
I think an Artaud's company came out, or Grotowski, and she said, that's what I want. So she wrote to Peter Brook, Grotowski and Artaud and said, I want to come and train with you, and left Australia for 20 years and studied with them and brought that practice back. Which is what sort of fed into the training that you had, Terry. And I had. So I had the classical language-based, ideas-based, text-based classical training in Shakespeare with Cecily Berry, meeting the impulse work that's come through, how Peter Brook broke with the traditional, big, brassy, loud, reach the back of the theatre, overacted, I suppose, style of the 50s and 60s. And he just wanted to break that and find the authentic voice and the impulse, the need to speak the word, which is what. So it was those twin things that really kind of fueled me for the rest of my career. And the group that I was given at the Actor Centre this is before Prisoner, so in the early mid 84 or something, 85, were like a bunch of kids just like me, and they all came from all walks of life, and they thought, oh, I just want to try this thing called acting. I think I called it Towards Acting or something like that. And we just played with a whole bunch of stuff, like lead follower work and a bit of Viola Bowl and stuff, and and at the end of that 12 weeks, they were all going, oh my God, this is about becoming a better human being. And I went, yes.
Yes.
Right.
That is true.
And there was probably not a single one of that particular group that were going to go on to be an actor, but they all said, we know ourselves better. We understand what connection to self means, what connecting to the other, how to be in the room with someone, how to be vulnerable and open, how to be brave, how to find your voice, how to work together as a team to make an idea bigger than, all working to an idea that was bigger than us. So,
do you find that acting it's a very like therapeutic kind of thing, like where, of course, in order to find yourself, me, like to me, if I didn't go to drama school, I don't think I'll probably be on this earth because I was able to find myself. I was able to understand other people, and I was able to understand what other people thought of me. What do you think about that? It's that kind of
absolutely. I absolutely think. I think what goes back to the Bible, really. To thine own self be true. Like you really need to know yourself in quietness and confidence. And the privilege of working with young people on the floor when they're training to be actors is that they're also learning how to find their own voice and their own self. They're learning about, what is that block that's come? What is that inner critic? What is that force that's happening on me that's restricting me? So I think this is why actor training, you have to be in the hands of someone you really trust and someone that you really, really deeply respect. And for trainers to hold the space for young people to emerge and go on that journey, because it's very painful sometimes. And there is a cathartic element to acting. Of course there is, but you also have to be really conscious and awake about what that is. Because acting is not opening up your wounds and like eviscerating yourself and like pouring it all out. That is not acting. That's a very dangerous practice. And people who think that is, is just wrong. They just shouldn't be doing that.
So if it's not acting, what is it?
I think it's exploiting an inner wound. It's extorting your inner story for some other purpose, not your. It's not your. It's your own private stuff is your own. Yeah. So here's the thing. I mean, you've got to be really careful about. So let's say you and I, Terry, were working on a piece that was to do with the death of a father, say.
Yeah.
Now, you and I both experienced death of loved family members. So you're going to go into that piece on the floor and start to explore your relationship with your imaginary father, right? And there might be, it might trigger in you a memory or a thought or a sensation that you go, oh yeah, that feels right, because that's how I felt when I was grieving over my whatever.
That's right.
But in that moment, we're not insane. Like, we know we're acting. But I'm not going to ask you as a director or an actor teacher to go into that wound and pick away at it so that you, Terry, start your own grieving. Because that's something that you need to have in your own sacred space with your own family. Activating that wound to borrow it for a character you want to play has to be your choice. You have to have agency over that. You have to be able to say, I am willing, and have a bargain with yourself to access this little bit because I know it feels authentic, and see what it's like to channel it into grieving for my imaginary father and my imaginary character. So that, that personalization has to be taught really carefully in young people so that they can traverse that territory for themselves. And then, often I find after we've worked on a piece like that, it's been maybe very powerful, we'll come back out, and then it's really important to ground yourself, let go of whatever's come up for you. You can shake it out, breathe, make eye contact with me until we're giggling and laughing. And you're back in your body, present. And then we can talk about what anchors did you find that were useful in that rehearsal. So we can retrieve memories, thoughts, feelings that you can then pin and anchor to whenever you feel that on impulse, you go through the next time. You can breathe into it, and it will fuel you to be able to play the next action or thought or sensation of the character, not you. Does that make sense?
That makes a whole lot of sense. I mean, what do you think about when people say, like, no matter what character you play, there's a part of you that's in it?
I think they'd say that they're absolutely right. Because, of course, it's you and you're the instrument. It's your mind, your body, your spirit, your human experience that you're offering to inhabit that character. Of course, it's part of you. But one of the great ways, and I'm not the first person to say this, I think I've read it lots of times, every time you inhabit another character and you play it, you learn something about the human experience.
Yeah.
And that makes you a bigger and better human being. So when you come back, you're more wise, you're more aware, or you have more insight into the human condition. So actually, it's the characters that make you a better person, like a bigger person.
It's not you, is it?
But of course, it's got to come through, especially in this day and age when naturalism or realism, we can talk about what they actually mean, is so revered in our culture. Like, people want to look like they're looking at an authentic recreation of someone they can absolutely believe. So, there is that you are lending yourself to that authenticity.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Glenda, do you remember the very first role that you got?
Yeah,
The first role you played?
I was 8 years old and I played the owl in Alice in Wonderland. In Alice in Wonderland, I played the owl and I understudied Alice, and I always used to tear myself up because I was only 8 or 9, and I couldn't learn Alice's lines. I couldn't remember them. There were so many. I think I got the first monologue down. Anyway, it was never a chance that I was going to go on.
Got a question about, because of course I saw you for the first time on Prisoner, back in years ago. But
when you were a child.
When I was a child. But when I sort of was watching those episodes and, all the other Australian content that was on TV at the time, and I thought, oh, yeah, okay, there's a new actress. Where's she from? And I thought, I'm sure she was in the Sullivans once in this New Guinness word. Was it actually you?
I nearly said a rude word. That was me.
It was you.
Oh, my God.
Because, of course, this is years before.
Oh, yes. With Lyndon Wilkinson. We played the two nurses in the forest.
Yeah,
in the New Guinea forest.
Yeah, it was like a Kokoda thing.
That's a Kokoda thing, and we had to go and rescue Mr. Sullivan. Oh, my God.
So it was you.
And
I've got a good memory
you
for
have.
that.
Bloody hell.
That was good.
So it is you.
That was me, and then we shot it up at Sassafras Creek, I remember, and it was really cold. And it was the first time I...
New Guinea, but Sassafras. I knew
Really
it
New
would
Guinea.
be.
And they had to give us ice blocks to suck so that the steam didn't come out. Because it was supposed to be the tropical jungle. And it wasn't with Sassafras Creek. And Sullivan's, for how many years Sullivan's was shooting winter for summer and summer for winter for 5 years.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. I ran for about 6 or 7 years.
It did. It was crazy.
And they'd have scenes in different countries, but it was all shot in Victoria. I think, like Port Phillip was Crete at one point.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
And Sassafras and the Dandenong for New Guinea and...
Yep.
Look, I was born in the 80s.
Singapore.
Yeah, no, you don't know.
I was Zach's by then. Anyone inspire you when you were young? Who, what did you see a performance or a film and you thought?
Because I'm so old now.
No, you're not.
We don't want to hear that word old.
I was born in Africa, in Zimbabwe, or then Rhodesia, and my parents decided to emigrate to England in the 60s because of the civil war that was emerging. And we were sent to Devon, which is actually where my father grew up. And we had this tiny little one up, one down terrace house. And the most exciting thing that happened to us there was that we got a little black and white television. And I was absolutely enchanted because there was I think it was German or maybe French children's television series on either the Grimm's fairy tales or European myths. And I was like, spellbound. I just could see these stories, and they were all like magical and magic realism, I suppose, because these characters would fly, and so I remember that as a really early memory of being absolutely transported. At that time in England, my grandmother took me to see Peter Pan, and Mary Poppins came out, and went to the cinema for the first time out. So I must have been 6 or 7, right? So I think those three things just kind of went in my mind. Then we came to Australia, very soon after that. And we didn't have television until I was a teenager. And I think because I was the eldest and I had a lot in my three younger brothers, my youngest brother needed a lot of help. He was in calipers for several years. I became a kid that played a lot on my own. I used to play a lot with my brothers, but I do recall like going off on my own and having these hours and hours under the tree or inside a bougainvillea bush.
And did you find that you were putting on characters?
I
And
think
acting
I
out,
just lived
reenacting?
acting. I think I was just living in an imaginary world. Now, my parents were always involved in amateur theatre or musical theatre.
Oh, okay.
So wherever they went in the world, they would either join the amateur theatre. My dad had an amazing voice, and my mum was incredibly talented. And
Did they ever act?
no, they did. No, they did. But in the sort of wilds of Africa, and Dad was a policeman, and he was moved every 6 months or 18 months or so to the next little village. And if there wasn't a theatre company there, they would start one, and they'd make the stage. They'd build it. And so it seemed to me that was what everybody did. I just thought that was normal. So when we got to Australia, we had a couple of years or a year and a half in Whyalla where we started. Then we moved to Clare in the mid-north. And that's when I played the owl in Alice in Clare Amateur Dramatic Society. And I remember that there was a touring production of, I want to say, Duchess of Malfi or something like that. And the State Theatre Company came up with it, or it might have been an opera. Anyway, there was a professor of theatre, Jeff Pullen, his name was, and he did a workshop for kids. And I joined in, and I remember him saying, improvise everyone. And he put a provocation out, something like, go hunt something, or go, and everybody hit the deck with their, machine guns and started doing Commander style. And my instant thought was to hunt a butterfly in the Amazon. So I was, and what blew me away was that Jeff Pullen then joined in. So there's this middle-aged man playing with me, and we just played. And that, I think, was a pretty seminal moment that I thought, oh, this must be something, if the grown-up thinks this is special, that, yeah. And then we moved to Adelaide, and I joined the Saturday Company, which was one of Australia's premier youth theatre companies, and that was run by Helmut Bukaitis, and that he's a genius. And that is a whole other story. But yes, I can tell there's another question coming. So
you're talking about the butterfly, and of course your teacher coming in, and I guess the reason why we call it play is because we have to play. Except what happens is that, like, I remember in drama school, like, we had to create a little, like, kids zoo and all that kind of stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then I remember John Bolton.
Oh, yes.
John Bolton.
Yes.
The Lecoq.
Yeah, absolutely.
He was telling us, it's like, this is what it's all about.
Yeah.
We call it play because that's what we do. We play.
Yeah.
It's just that what's happening is that we're playing very seriously as adults.
Yeah.
And that's what it is.
C'est le jeu.
And so it's always good to go back to that little
to
child in you.
remember, yeah.
Yeah,
to
that
remember
little
that it's
child.
play. Correct.
Yeah, we're playing.
Correct.
That's why it's called a play.
Yeah, that's right.
And so that's a beautiful thing, that butterfly thing is going to
butterfly
stick with
thing
me
is
forever.
like an emblem. Yeah. I think that's why I got very interested in the work that I did. I was too kind of timid to do it when I was teaching you guys at VCA, and I kept it very quiet and sort of would do it on the side with private students. But I did eventually got more confident about working with the Artist Way, which is a Julia Cameron, a brilliant program, book now that's 30 years old and is kind of old-fashioned because it was before internet.
Yeah, right.
But she does a 12-week process where you develop a relationship with your inner child and and it teaches you how to nurture your creative child, your creative self. And I think that's really vital.
That's really important because
Really
we lose so
Absolutely.
much when we get.
We do, and we forget. And
yeah.
what I loved about the Artist Way is that it gives you a bunch of tools to think about how to to develop your relationship with your creative self.
What about your process, Glenda? What's yours when you get a role? Have you got one?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, yes. I'm glad you asked me to.
Does it depend on the actual role and the medium? Is there a difference between the two? Like,
I
do you
use
think
the
one, you
same-
think, oh,
Yeah, no, I use the same process for both. And I think that the process I developed, which I started developing, we started to talk a little bit about it the night of the Cicely Berry, the Dean Carey, then teaching it. And so what I was learning as I taught, and this wonderful relationship between being in the room as a teacher, practitioner, and then being in the room as an actor, like the practice of being an actor was feeding the practice of sharing what I thought was appropriate and learning from my students. So that conversation has been going my whole life. So, and that process, whether you're working, developing a role for a play or a film or a TV, is the same process. It's just sort of, I suppose, in film, television, you have zero time to rehearse it, so you've got to do all the work yourself.
Very fast.
Yeah, but it's the same process. And the gift I had when I was appointed head of acting at WAPA was that it had been a newly minted, because for 38 years or whatever, it used to be an advanced diploma. It was like a vocational trade, and you learn by doing. Like you get on the floor and you do play after play after play, and it was very much how the actor training was developed in the 80s and before that in England. So the WAPA acting program was sort of inspired by the Michel Saint-Denis process that inspired NIDA as well. Blah blah blah. This is a different
And was it
conversation.
all about evidence as well, like providing evidence to complete tasks? Because you can't mark art,
No, that's right.
Assess
well,
art,
No, well, it is about process, and evidence gathering is part of the process. So you mine the text. You're like a detective. You read the text, whether it's a film script or whether it's a play. You read it and read it and read it, read dozens of times, and you mine the text. And there's various what's the structure of it, what's the social, political, economic aspect of all the world of the play, the world of the playwright when he wrote it, or they wrote it, or she wrote it, or and you apply it to the character. So you do this. What Stanislavski calls is the seven planes. So it's a plane of, what's the literary, what's the political, what's the social, what's the psychological, what's the plane of your personal aesthetic. So it's an incredibly deep dive into how to analyze the text that you're in. And then out of that forensic process, you will notice how, for instance, like broadly speaking, a feature film or a television, or feature film script is probably more visual than it is dialogue based. A play will be more will be more language based. So, but those devices that the playwright or the author gives you is part of what you're mining. And then you ask certain questions like, what's the story about? Like, what's literally happening here? What are the events? So you just work out the plot, trying to keep your mind open and clear, and resist the temptation to interpret. And just go, oh, the facts are this happens, and then this happens, and this happens, and this happens. And then, and this is what we got from Lindy, you'll remember this. What does the play do? Like, what does the story do? Like, what is the playwright inviting us to consider? How will this galvanize us as a human being? What will drive me up onto the floor to start exploring this, because I'm just so incredibly inspired by what it is that we're tackling here. So it might sound a bit esoteric. And whenever I've been in a room with people, it's the very first question I ask. Probably asked you, Terry.
Maybe.
Why do you want to be an actor? And then what does an actor do? Like are you in this because you want to be the next lead in the HBO series or Netflix series or whatever? You might be in it for the wrong reasons, because what is going to sustain you for 40, 50, 60 years as an actor, as a storyteller? Like, what is it why do we regard this as a noble profession? Like, what is it that's important? And eventually you'll get a version of an understanding, or I hope an understanding, that stories, in whatever form or shape they come, will give value and meaning to our lives.
Yeah, correct.
And they will affirm the human experience and challenge it and inspire it and wake it up and provoke it. Like it will always come back to, holding the mirror, as it were, up to nature, and ask us I was just reading this morning, Harriet Walter's done a wonderful book she's called Brutus and Other Heroines.
Oh
my God.
Oh
my God.
Yeah.
And I've just read the chapter on her exploration of Lady Macbeth. And those two characters, if they were sociopaths, they wouldn't have wouldn't be affected by the dead body of Duncan and feel the guilt or the shame of what they've done, the horror of what they've done, and it unravels them. So she suppresses her humanity, and her journey is the unraveling of that.
Is it open to
suppression.
interpretation?
Oh, yes. I mean, I think every single human being that takes a role like that will have their own. And when you read her, she acknowledges that completely. But that point is, and it's often referred to, is there but for the grace of God go I. Like we all have the capacity to be evil like that, And I think that's the brilliance of the play is that, they were just ordinary people and they did this thing.
Yeah.
I remember it's really interesting what you said. What you like when you were with your students. Why do you want to be an actor?
Yeah.
What is? I remember when I was at drama school and I was with my friend he was a great actor. He's no longer with us. And we were very young,
Yeah.
And he said, one day he went to VCA. He said, one day I just want to be able to cry on stage.
Oh.
I know. And he goes, what do you want to do, Tim? And I said, you know what? I want to make the audience cry.
Yeah, that's such a tyranny. Like, Terry, cry now. I mean, that's no human being does that.
No, it's like as soon as you say you're an actor, people are like, act.
Blush.
Blush now.
Blush.
Yes, correct.
Here's a prop. Act.
And you just go, it doesn't work that way.
Like that, and it's actors get in such an anxiety about how to produce emotion. If you just think about what you want to do, if you want to do. Somebody said once, I think it was Bella Merlin said in one of her books on Stanislavski, like emotions are if you want something and you don't get it, it'll make you angry and sad. If you want something and you do get it, it makes you happy. Like it's just the human
so
reaction,
simple.
and
Simple.
emotions just last for 6 seconds and then they turn into something else. So, and some days you might find the well is open and you're just pouring with tears, and another performance, it'll be a kind of melancholy, and both are right.
Yeah.
As long as you're playing the journey and it's connected and it's dropped in and you're affecting.
So much.
It's so much. Yeah. It's so much
sometimes
more.
Sometimes an actor's face can just make you cry.
Well, 100%. And sometimes it's more affecting to see someone laughing when you know that they're actually crushed inside.
Exactly. Yeah. And like, of course, you as an actor, you would know this. Like, sometimes, you've had a bad day or whatever it is, and what I guess we've been taught, what I've been taught anyway, was just work from where you're at. And
correct.
As long as everything all the work that you've done before is already dropped in.
Yes, and trust
then
it.
you can just trust from where you're at. You could have had a bad day. Maybe somebody in your family, something happened. It doesn't matter. No matter what, the show must still go on. Yeah. But work from where you're at.
Yeah, don't resist. Don't resist it. I can share a story about that very thing happening to me. I was on the national tour of the, was it Shirley Valentine? It was Shirley Valentine. And I was in Karratha, far north Queensland or somewhere like that. Geraldine, I know. And my father was struggling with cancer. They got a phone call that there was cancer in his lung. And he look, he survived it and it was okay, but then I got the phone call that his dog had died.
Oh.
And I just didn't, it was like I just could, I was too far away. I was too upset, too, terrified that, we would lose. And then our beloved dog died. And it was just, I just couldn't stop my own personal grief. I thought, how the hell am I going to do this? So I turned up to the theatre a half hour early. I like 2 hours anyway. And I did my warm-up, my yoga warm-up, my voice warm-up, and I just opened the channel and just let the grief flow. I just thought, I'm just going to have to, it's going to have to flow through me with this grief tonight. And that was one of the most extraordinary discoveries of that journey I made, because it was coming through kind of autumnal sadness, but I was an open vessel because the warm-up I'd made, and the story flowed through me, and I found so much more humour and depth and interest and curiosity than I'd ever in any run I'd ever done. And I just thought, wow, that is the gift of live theatre, that you are a vessel, and this story passes through you once again, but your own humanity will colour it. You know, it would be a different lens that night, different
Yeah.
kind of colour palette that night. But it was still profound. It was still funny. It was still moving. The audience still stood up at the end. You know, it was amazing.
And afterwards, after the show was over and you went
Yeah.
into your dressing room.
Well, there's the catharsis, you know. So I felt better.
Yeah.
You know, I had felt that I was released, and you know, very sad about the dog. But my father recovered and he was fine. He lived, you know, he's still with us. You
Good.
know, 20 years later, he's still with us. So,
Hey, Dad.
hey, hi, darling. Hi, darling.
Since you started in the biz, acting styles, how they changed?
Oh, yeah, that's a good question. Well,
If so, how?
you know what, I'm not sure that acting styles have changed, but I think the tastes have changed in audiences and in makers. So maybe I'm just a bit old-fashioned or stuck in my own ways, but I still think that quality acting is respected and revered. I'm just not sure that there's much opportunity to
Okay.
reveal it so much anymore. Like, I mean, I think that culture changes, and culture, we're always in response to the population that's coming up, the cultural and the widening, hallelujah, the widening of our voices that have come through Australia in the last 30 years with the inclusivity and diversity and the proliferation of playwrights and voices and all of the different cultures that have influenced.
And how they are actually written.
Exactly. And I think that's to be celebrated.
Yeah.
But I think at the same time there's also been a very conscious well, I mean, in the 80s, there was a conscious effort, I think, if I can be politically for a minute, to pull funding from state theatre companies, from what was made. There was, I remember being asked to be on the panel for, it was then Australia Council.
Yes.
And we had a certain amount of money to fund, and I was the only voice on the committee that was the theatre voice. Everyone else was, right from movement-based theatre through to, the Indigenous fora, the multicultural. It was the broadest range of projects that we were looking at, and there was maybe, it was on 0.6 font. It was on landscape, and there were 6 pages, and we hadn't had enough money to fund about this much on the first page, So how do you make that? How do you make that decision? And that was in the mid-90s or late 90s. And at that time they were saying...
Oh, this is How It's Australia, isn't it?
Yeah, How It's Australia, yeah, correct. And that was saying we are in grave danger of losing the middle ground. We're losing the spaces and places where young people come and grow and develop their, how to make plays, how to look after plays, how to grow them, how to develop them, how to be stage managers, how to be lighting designers, how to tell stories. If we don't have those grassroots, community and small theatre companies, so you saw then companies like Griffin Theatre Company and Nimrod Theatre Company, Bell Shakespeare suddenly becomes corporate sponsored by, and they grew into middle-sized and big theatre companies, and there were and so all the small theatre companies suddenly had to become the middle ground, and they didn't have the resources. So then we started seeing the rise of, corporate. What is it when you do a play and you do it for no money? What's it called?
Community.
No, it's not community. It's shared.
Why can't we
what do you
remember the
call
word?
it?
I've edited it from my mind. So
I just...
What's it called? Share profit or something?
it
I
is
just did
shared
one.
profit.
It is shared profit,
It's
yeah.
cooperative theatre, and so like all of the mid-career artists were then, like me at that time, if I wanted to do a play, I had to do it with a bunch of friends for no money.
Yeah.
So it really shifted the way that I think we continued to develop our craft.
Yeah.
We didn't have a space for younger people to learn their craft. Community theatres like the New Theatre Company in Sydney suddenly were flooded by young people saying, "Oh, my agent says I've got to come and do a play with you so I can get credit on my..." So they weren't, the New Theatre was like famously a socialist theatre in the 50s and 60s, but was now suddenly becoming where the young people went to get their, to get their first job. So it sort of shifted the reason for the theatre. Instead of it being a community-based theatre telling stories from the working classes, it became about young people who wanted to get an agent to come to.
This kind of goes to my next question. When Murder Call, and I did see a few episodes back in the day, but I was kind of going off TV at that point. It was very slick from my memories, but you played a forensic pathologist.
Yes.
But I could just imagine you had all these scientific and medical lines, and they're hard. They're hard for
Hard yoga.
It's worse than Shakespeare.
Much worse than Shakespeare.
Exactly.
A couple of times in these days, I've sort of Googled the word and got that speech thing. Oh, that's how you say it.
That's how you say it. I know. Well, you didn't have it in those days.
So, and to remember those sort of lines
is
a
ferocious.
Yeah.
Pain, absolute pain. So the
What are your
medical stories
experiences of
the
that?
medical story is really, really cool story. If you've got time, I can tell you.
Please, we got time.
I love primary research. I really love it. So when I got the audition, Tootsie.
Tootsie.
Oh, Tootsie. That's an unusual name. I didn't even know what a forensic pathologist was. So I rang a friend.
You
I know.
study for it for years.
I know you do.
Yeah.
That's right. And of course, Murder Call was. I know we have a plethora of stories about forensic pathology now, but back then we didn't so much. So anyway, I rang a friend who was I think a probation or parole officer who was at that time, and I said, where do I go to find out about this stuff? He said, why don't you ring the coroner's court? I went, oh, okay. I'll ring them up. So I rang. I said, hi, my name is, and I'm an actress and I'm auditioning for I'm just wondering if you might have a leaflet on what forensic pathology. Oh, she said, they're really weird. Those people, oh my God, they're cutting up those dead bodies. They have really peculiar sense of humor. Oh, one's just walked in. Would you like to say hello? I went,
I guess so.
Okay, hi. And I got put onto the phone to a wonderful man called Dr. Alan Carla. And he went, oh, yeah, cool, okay. Well, come on down. Are you free this afternoon?
Actress, you said you were.
Yeah, actress.
What?
So I'm, 2 hours later, I was at the coroner's court of Glebe, and he met me. And he took me down, and he showed me around.
An autopsy.
And he showed me around. It was all clean. It was all done. And we went to his office, which was tiny little cubicle of an office. And up on the whiteboard, he had hand drawn in marker a particularly atrocious death that had happened the previous week. And it was a truly awful story about a young English couple that came out to Australia for a 3-week holiday because she'd been beaten up or something like that. Anyway, he got attacked by a drunkard in Bondi and beaten up and left for dead. And then this bus took a shortcut back to and ran him over.
Oh, Jesus.
And he died. So, and that was
After getting beaten up. So
beaten up. So he was sort of unconscious, and then he got it's terrible. And it was all in the news, and oh my God, and it turns out that the police were unable to turn up because they were busy, with some riots or whatever was going on. And so Alan was the first on the scene as the pathologist. And he just followed the blood trail to this dude's house, which was a second floor apartment in Bondi. I knocked on the door and arrested him. He got the guy. So it was a truly extraordinary story. And so it was fresh in my mind. And there it was. I was in the room, and Alan was the person who was having to sort of, take this case on. So I started to see him quite regularly. He was very, very generous with his time. He had a stack of photos on his table that high. He said that they're all the cases that are unsolved. There's about 900 of them. And as I started to talk with him, and I went to see him in court. I read a whole bunch of his, and I started to get an enormous understanding that he is the last advocate for his patient, who is the deceased person, and that he would often have to stand up in court and defend his case to the QCs that were trying to sort of. So his capacity to tell a story, to defend his patient, to articulate was thrilling to me. Anyway, and then the auditions, I got, callbacks and blah, blah. I eventually won the role. So I rang him up and said, Alan, I've got the role. So thank you very much. This is amazing. But I said, when we get into the studio, oh, by the way, Channel 9 then decided to hire him as a consultant. So I had him for 6 weeks after we started. And he said, so you're going to have to show me how to, use the instruments. Like, I'm going to, even though it'll be out of shot, I'll have to kind of look like I know what I'm doing. And he said, well, and he allowed me to go and see an autopsy.
For real?
For real. What a privilege.
How was that?
It was such a privilege. It was, thank God, it was nothing awful with man died natural causes and had a heart attack. But, the respect for the patient, the recording, the way they treated the body, the way that they opened up the body, and you saw how beautiful we are on the inside. I thought, man, if we all knew how beautiful we were on the inside, we would never worry again. And
no reason to be insecure at all.
no, none at all. And this poor man, had heart condition and he had lost a tooth or two. Anyway, what a privilege. And I think I'd built a lot of trust with him over the time and with the staff. And I was very, very fortunate. So armed with all that information, and that's the fuel that went into my imagination as I developed this character.
So you saw him at work?
I saw him at work.
And how he behaved?
Yeah.
Could you draw on that?
100%.
Character observation?
Character observation, but what struck me most about him was how in life he was. Like, he'd ride to work on his push bike, had beautiful, adorable daughters. He was constantly joking and laughing. Like, there was something about people, and I've noticed this too, when you're either with childbirth, like the medical staff that are around you when you bring a soul into this world, and the staff that are around person that exits the world, they're the most exceptional human beings.
Yeah.
And don't you agree? Like, they are really, they know something so deep, and I really connected to that. So whether or not in the kind of shellac version of whatever it was the murder call became, I was able to communicate that. Didn't matter, because it certainly fed me and gave me enough resources so that I could use impulse work in the work that fed me.
Yeah.
So then getting to the medical absolutely drove me nuts. And I would ask Alan to help me. And he was so generous. He was always there for the whole run of the season if I needed him. But I would just have to literally practice. Because
they're not easy words.
They're not easy words.
No. A lot of them are
They're not easy
Latin-based
words. And what I found really hard was, because the network, Hal McElroy, wanted to create the look of a television series that had the same aesthetic as the X-Files, but on like 1/10 of the budget. So they created a studio down at Glebe. The studios, I don't even know if they're there anymore, and they built the sets with film lighting in them. So we had 4 film cameras on us. So we were shooting so fast, and they would rely on the A-team, they called us, the principal actors. So we would do those scenes in 1 take, maybe 2 if we were really stuck. So the pressure on me to get those words right, because they got the coverage on the first take, and if it was right, then we'd move on. So it was very high stakes. I didn't enjoy that very much. It was quite a lot of pressure, but that was the beginning of the age of fast turnaround television.
Now, after doing all those lines and those big words and all that kind of stuff, now you see another script and you're like, that's easy.
That's easy. That's easy. That's easy shit to do. That's all right. That's fine.
That?
Yeah,
what is
nothing.
that?
Yeah.
Oh,
I have to say, when I watch a forensic pathologist now, because it seems that every British crime drama has one, I go,
Oh, they're everywhere
nice,
now.
Yes.
nice, good,
Oh,
nice.
that's good.
Oh, that's a good idea. Why didn't I do that? I should have done that. Oh, did you see how they tracked around that? Oh, that was excellent work. Yeah. Oh, and the props. Because I don't know about you, but I find prop acting so hard in television. Like, I have to kind of sneak in before, if I can get some time on the set with the props and just mark through the scene by myself, because I just need that time to get it in my body, because I'm so affected by new information that comes in when you're in the moment that I could drop a prop and it will completely change me because of the impulse work, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my God.
And also, and that's it's so different between theater and film.
Yeah.
In theater, you're rehearsing with the people for 6 weeks
and
or
it gets
whatever
in
it
your
is.
body,
It's
and you
in
know,
you.
yes.
Now, before you even get on set, you don't even know the other actor.
No.
And so you've got, if you know,
If it's not there,
if
I
it's
know.
not there, it's not there.
Yeah.
When you were cast as Rita Connors, The big one
Let's go
in
back.
Prisoner.
Let's go back 40 years this year.
Yeah, it would be
I'm
85.
celebrating the 40th year of being cast in that role this year.
Wow.
I know.
So Rita the Beta Connors, she was a bikie. She brought in a lot of other characters with her into the show, exploded on our screens, as I said earlier, and became popular. The show was kind of floundering, I should say, for a few months, and then, in come these new faces. And I remember when I was a kid sort of looking at the TV scene and I saw a picture of Rita the Beta and I looked and I went, and, you had the wet hair and you had the freak like that. And I thought, oh, my God, the show's going back to what it used to be. We're finally getting a toughie again.
You brought it back. You brought it back.
Look, you're not a bikie. You've never been to prison that I know of. What research, did you do about a woman who's going to be incarcerated for a long time and bikie culture?
Yep. It's a good question.
You know?
I have told this story before.
Right.
Because
Sorry.
no. I'm just going to say I welcome the opportunity to tell it on this podcast. But there are prisoner fans that will have heard it in the UK prisoner fan
Millions of
club.
times.
But no. But it goes back to the same. I love primary research, and Rita was the first role that I was able to really practice this. And no one actually told me to do this. This is just something that I felt I had to do. So at that time, when I was cast as Rita, Prison had been going 7 years, is that right? And it was flagging, it was tanking. And in those days, because theatre was king in those days, if you were cast in a soap opera, it was death to your career. So a lot of people were really looked down on the actors that chose to go into television, because this is the 80s. Like it was, the culture was changing. It was the 10BA tax reform, it was miniseries, it was Mad Max, it was My Brilliant Career, and it was these television, and we'd had the Sullivans, and Neighbours was starting to come up, and Prisoner was there. And we'd had some extraordinary, like The Box, and some other, Crawford's TV dramas were all the rage. But if you were a TV actor, you were never going to be a classical theatre actor. So there was this. But by the time I auditioned for Prisoner, I had been graduated for 5 or 6 years and had never had a professional job, because I was 6'1" and I wasn't, beautiful enough, or, I was too, like, no one could kind of fit me into a category. I didn't fit the sort of ingenue or the, classically beautiful. And, did a lot of cooperative theatre. That's what it was called.
There you go.
And I did a lot of sharing workshops and stuff like that with friends, starting at the Actors Centre. Met Lindy Davies, did that month intensive with her on impulse work, and the light bulb went off in my head. I went, oh, thank you. I understand what an actor's process is now, so I feel that experience, probably the Cicely Berry and the Lindy in that year before, became kind of crystallised in my mind. And I'd been searching for like 5 years about what the actor's process is. So I knew that I wanted to practice both the skills that I learned from those two art forms, but for that I needed material. So same thing, rang up my friend and said, how do I find out about what it's like for a woman to go to prison? And he said, ring my friend up, who was the then governor at the Silverwater Female Detention Centre, great euphemism, isn't it, like Mullawa. So I went to her and I said, look, but I don't want to insult people or like ask them to tell their stories, but would be really helpful if I could meet a few women who were doing their time and put the character of Rita on the table and get them to speak to that, invention. And in return, I'll run some drama classes.
In jail?
Did you do it?
I did.
Oh, God.
So naive. I walked in. Of course, there was a prison officer in each corner, and all the women that were there were just like, we don't want to be here. We don't want to be here at all. Because, God knows what would happen. Because to be seen as sort of having any kind of privilege was like death when they went back inside. And I was, being naive and boop-de-boo and playing silly games. It was very tense, put it that way. But we did it, and I did deliver the 4, and then 7 women came, and I said, look, here she is. This is who she is. This is what she's done. She's white hot temper, bikey, boyfriend sleeping with her best friend, so she rides the Harley Davidson into the bedroom and beats them both up. hilarious. And that's why she's in for grievous bodily harm and assault. And they started to speak to what a woman like that would go through in the process of being, coming from court and crossing the line, having her identity stripped. So everything you see in that first scene when the freak pulls the chains off, that was all based on primary research I did with those women.
Wow.
So,
And were you looking at like little idiosyncrasies that they had in the way they delivered, they spoke to you, or mannerisms that were sort of...
do you know what?
No?
Because none of them were like Rita.
Right, okay.
They were all like, some were middle-aged mums, some were, hardened sort of, but they had this generosity. Because it's a long time ago now,
Yeah.
my memory was that there was a generous sharing of insights into the human experience of losing your freedom.
Mm.
What the information you're talking about came later, when my best friend Chrissy Totis and I went to the New Theatre. We hired a space and we spent 2 weeks. By that time I'd got the first 3 scripts. They'd released 3 scripts to me, and we rehearsed those 3 scripts as if it was a stage play.
Oh, right.
And I used impulse work. I used improvisation. I created the backstory. I found the walk. I found the bandana. I found the meaning of the jacket and what the chains meant. So that was like rehearsing it, like developing a character from the script, from the text, using information that I'd got from my primary research. In the meantime, by the way, I still didn't know anything about bikies. So I used to go up to the Cross on a Friday night, see the Hells Angels up there, and my boyfriend at the time was going, no, we don't do that. And I go, but I just want to go. No, you're not going to talk to them. You're not. I went, so I'd read magazines, and I'd just go, how do I find out about all this? So when I got to Melbourne, the Grundy's producers introduced me to a guy who was a carpenter, and he was built sets for the Sullivans and for Neighbours and stuff like that. And he was a bikie, excuse me, and Iroquois or something like that, and would go on the weekends, and he had beard down to here, and
Yeah, of course.
and he
He'd give you a dink, would he?
well, they wouldn't let me. They wouldn't let me go anywhere near a bike, and so because of insurance reasons. But he invited me around to his house. I think from memory it was like a middle-class suburb like Glen Waverley or somewhere like that. And went to this little Californian bungalow house, and he had a wife and 4 kids. And his workshop was out the back. So we went out, past this sort of beautiful sort of middle-class back garden with a trampoline and everything, into this other world. And he was a mechanic, and all these bits of bikes were everywhere. And he took me to the workshop bench, and behind it was this floor-to-ceiling kind of pinboard of photographs of female genitalia. What? Correct.
What? Was it painted or was it real?
Real.
Photographic images.
Correct. So, and he, I probably won't say too much more about that person, but protect privacy and so on. But that it shocked me, and I thought, I see, this is a misogynistic culture. This is a culture in which a character like Rita would not exist. So what the research did for me was it gave me insight into what is real, and I knew I was stepping into a fantasy world of television soap opera. So I needed to elevate the character into something that became more like a pantomime character, but because I was theatre trained and able to sort of base her in a practice of enormous imagination, incredible capacity to play a strong action, be affected, play to affect someone, and on impulse be able to sort of feed off the energy that was happening between us.
Yeah.
And I would give myself, as I learned very quickly because sometimes it would only take, we'd have 20 minutes a scene. So you'd have to work so fast. So I let go all of my, I'm working for excellence here. And I ended up telling myself if I could make one moment of connection work in between me and my scene partner in this scene, then that was good.
I remember you telling me this.
There you go.
When I was in second
there
year.
you go.
I remember that.
Yeah, right.
In fact, I think we were in third year in 2007 when I think you created a circle and you told us that story.
Yeah, there you go.
It's like no matter what you do, just try and find a connect. There's some type of connection that will allow you to kind of for people to go, oh, I get it.
Get it. That's right.
And it doesn't actually need to be in the script.
It's
No,
not.
We don't.
no,
It's not what the
no.
audience sees. It's something-
She told us that.
She said that.
She said it wasn't in the script, but we made it happen.
Yeah.
We just
It was-
always
and
that'll
that
come
was-
through.
And
yeah.
and the cameras loved it.
Yeah.
The camera loves that
yeah.
elemental human connection.
Yeah.
I'm so glad
I
you
remember that. I swear to
yeah.
God, I was thinking about it
Well,
yesterday.
it was, and that was, and I would find that in the moment on impulse, over and over and over again.
That's why that work with Lindy was so important.
So I had that, and then I had a year to practice it.
Yes.
And that was the gift of Prisoner for me.
Yeah.
You had some
wonderful.
very intense storylines that you
sure
would
did.
never see in a soapy now.
You would never see, no. And
Not at all.
No.
You were
And
in
I-
a riot where Linda Stoner was hung, you know. You burnt down. Now, that was almost like a feature film on its own.
Oh, but the Blackmore was a feature film. Like,
yeah, is that what it was called? Yeah, the
correct,
prison
Blackmore,
out in
the prison
Spotswood.
Blackmore, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
What else was there? The rivalry you had with that other wonderful actress with the Platt.
Oh, Kath.
That
Yeah, yes,
and
Kate
they
Hood.
had some really interesting things
Yeah.
because she had killed her daughter and now she was actually became the mother of another woman in the prison who had the mind of a child.
Correct, yeah.
And Rita being this gang member, sort of, I'm no longer this powerful kind of character with this entourage of, you know, as you said, doesn't really exist anyway.
Yeah.
But she created her own gang in prison.
She did.
It was about companionship,
She did.
which was what that show was kind of about.
Correct,
You
yeah.
know, and suddenly all these, you know,
Yeah.
this depth had come back into the show.
Yeah.
Because you won a Penguin for that,
I
didn't you?
did, yeah, I did. I think that the inspiration I took for her was actually from the Three Musketeers. You know, she felt very much like very masculine energy, and one for all and all for one. So that war cry, that warrior, that what I did take from the Baki subculture was the sense of community. And she was always standing up for, like, I mean, that crime that she, you know, beat her husband up or boyfriend up for was because she'd been betrayed and it was wrong. So she always had, even though she, you know, was inappropriate in the way she expressed her anger, it was, I felt, because I had to play her, for the right reasons. And she was always standing up for the underdog. So in a way, she was the sort of hero, and that's why she was so popular. And she was the antagonist of the freak. She was the protagonist. So it was the traditional hero's journey in terms of storytelling, which is why I think people were so fond of her journey, her story. And I probably told you this too, Terry, at the time, that bringing such a clear idea of the character, knowing how to play the first 3 episodes, you're so right that a character like Rita revitalized the show. So often when you see long form storytelling, they will do something dramatic, like Blue Heelers, they blew up the police station.
Yeah.
You know, and with Prisoner, they brought in a high energy character like Rita. So it will refresh and revitalize. And so everybody had storylines because they could relate to or reject the character coming in. Right. And what I noticed was that the writers started writing for that.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
And so I'm saying, you know, this is where if you're generous as an actor, if you can give of yourself and give of the stories and create the most interesting variety of offers, it will stimulate creativity in other people, other actors that you're playing with, and other.
But also, the audience also wants more.
The audience wanted more.
Exactly.
And so they started to fit, and so those storylines, like the Blackmore storyline, the riots, they were all coming out of. Yeah, the fact, I suppose, if I can talk about myself as if I'm not me, an actor that had the capacity to play that size of story.
Yeah.
It was absolutely exhausting. And
there's scenes where she's running up and they're on work experience and she's trying to kill the freak off a cliff. jumping off a boat.
I said, I know what we'll do this week. We'll take them all on a boat tour in the Port Phillip Bay.
They're prisoners.
All my stuff. I know,
I like
ridiculous.
it.
Rita gets cancer
She does.
towards the end of the
Yes.
series. Another heavy thing.
Another heavy thing.
You've got such a responsibility with something like that.
No. And I couldn't do primary research because we were, I was in the middle of filming already. So I was really disappointed because my contract was up. 12 months was coming to an end. And so they decided to write the character out by giving her the cancer journey. I was so damn disappointed. I wanted to escape like Steve McQueen. I've said that so many times in interviews before. But I was so be it. We'll do the cancer journey. And I got the brilliant John McTiernan. So I went, okay, I'm happy. But I couldn't do much research on non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. But what I could do was respond to emotionally and psychically to a character facing their own death, like mortality. And that journey, the scripts they gave me was about how to say goodbye, how to be true to yourself, how to be honest, and that was what remember that that's what the character of the priest, the John McTiernan character, gave me. During that time that we started, scripts were written, everything was done, we'd already started shooting it, they decided to axe Prisoner. Channel 10 went, right, we're not doing drama anymore, we're going to be a sports station. Prisoner's gone. Yeah. And I went, okay, well, fine. So they came to me and said, look, would you please stay another 3 months and we will write the series out around you and your contest with the freak. And I think that's one of the reasons that character has stayed with me for 40 years is because it sort of was wrapped up in the end of an iconic Australian television show.
Yeah.
With that famous last line. And I said, well, okay, we're gonna get the freak. But I said, I'm dying of cancer. How am I supposed to do this? Oh, it's all right. You can just do it. So I went, okay. So I'm escaping and, throwing chairs through windows and climbing up, 2 stories of building on a tiny ladder in the stage 4 cancer. Yeah. But
I remember watching the chemo scenes.
Yes.
I remember that back then, and
yeah.
just really sort of like they were filmed in a real ward, oncology ward, were they? Because there was shots of kids hooked up to machine. Like it was really beautifully done.
We probably did, but
again,
I would have been a quarter of a day 40 years ago, so I've probably forgotten. But there was a very similitude about it, and I had the privilege of touring this Prisoner. I hesitate to use the word play. In the UK, the year after, in 87, I think, I did 4 months tour of a stage version of Prisoner Cell Blockade.
There was a stage version?
There was in the UK, and I played Amanda Muggleton's character because it was based on the first 13 episodes of the origins, 8 years
and
before.
They got English actors to play the Aussie characters.
They did, and they got Elspeth Ballantyne and Patsy King. They came out and played their roles, and because I was in the UK at that time, I'd gone out with my husband and he was working at the BBC. They said, "Oh, Glenda, would you play Amanda's role?" I went, "Sure." Rita hadn't hadn't come to air yet, so I was playing completely the opposite because she was like, white leather, stiletto heels, like a good time girl. Like she was the opposite of character, Rita. But in that 4 months playing weekly rep, like going from one Frank Matcham theatre to another, like all through, like was such a beautiful tour, beautiful actors, terrible play. But I met the Prisoner fans, and that was extraordinary because I saw that it wasn't one particular cohort of people. It was anyone, everyone. And I developed the theory, and I've said this in many interviews before, that I think the fans responded to Prisoner because they identified with being incarcerated by something, whether it was a bad relationship or a sexuality or a cruel institution or like high school or, anyone who had conflict in their life could in some way relate to Prisoner and the role of the women in it. So that was really interesting. So getting back to the cancer journey, I am now, years later, looking at it, so grateful because that was so much more powerful to play a meet your own mortality journey than just a frivolous escape, and it was so much more meaningful. Even with so if you get a bit postmodern about this, so that last moment of like, is she going to die or isn't she going to die? Like, but then for me, it was more about the essence of the spirit of the character, the the sense of triumph of good over evil, like the hero's journey, like going back to a real archetypal story, that there was so much more about the triumph of the will and the spirit in that last moment, which was quite
Powerful.
extraordinary and powerful, and not
Yeah.
like, you know, your typical soap, but it sort of lifted it into something that's kind of perplexing and mysterious, which I think is cool, really cool.
It's cool and very attractive at the same time.
Yeah.
You know, in a way of like people who are watching it at that point of that spiritual journey or whatever it is. Now people are now tuning in, and that really kind of touches the heart, and I think that's a beautiful thing. And
Glenda said it was 40 years ago, and they're still watching it all over
Oh,
the world.
exactly.
I've got fourth generation fans now. They're still flying us over to the UK to meet with them. Probably won't be doing it again, but you know, it's quite. And then there was the Wentworth spin-off. You know, it took why it took so long to get. I think it took people a long time to actually figure out that people were still watching this in droves. It's never been off air. It's on air somewhere in the world. And I have people writing to me or contacting me that finish the series and go back and start watching
Okay.
again. It's their weekly thing.
There you go.
Where's the role of the actor going, Glenda?
Where
What's
is
what's
the
going to
role
happen?
of the actor? Well, you know,
Green screens, AI.
I don't think the role of the actor is in any danger whatsoever. I think
we're gonna do another movie.
Yeah, we're going to do another movie. I think that, you know, look, you know, this whole thing about AI is so important and so challenging. I went to a conference, the equity conference, last year, and we were talking about this. Like, you know, there is real damage being done. Like AI can take, you know, like actors who voice, you know, animation series. They can take 2 or 3 episodes, pinch the voices, and then revoice the next 36 episodes. So
You want Morgan Freeman to
Yeah,
narrate your
correct.
movie?
Oh
you
my
got
God!
it.
Yeah.
That's
You want
right.
Denzel Washington? You got him. Yeah, exactly.
So in a way, we're sort of like running after the horse after it's bolted, and that's what's said. But you know, how do we insist on, you know, requesting permission to use your product, your work? Where are the contracts around that, the conditions that put, you know, you still in control of your own artifact, if you like, your own creativity, and where's the compensation? So I think we have to legislate or find a way to make this safe for people who are losing their IP through the use of AI. But AI, I mean, is here to stay, and there are many positive. Like I had one group that I was working with were props makers for feature films, and they were saying, look, if I have to, the director says, I want a 1942 New York Times front page. You know,
Yeah.
I can print it off in 3 hours. You know, it's done, and that's helpful. So I can see that properly controlled, AI's got a place, and we need to make a friend of it. I don't. And here's another story about AI. Like, I was talking to a friend who was in a second partnership, and that their partner had a very troubled teenage child, and she insisted that they apologise for something they did. It was really awful, and it was sent by text. And she got the text, and she said, "This isn't him." And he'd gone to AI to compose an apology and texted it to her. So
It's kind of scary.
yeah. But that's where I think that AI can never win, because our playwrights and screenwriters will know how to write that scenario from their heart and from their deeply human
Absolutely correct.
experience, and actors will know how to play that.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
yeah, and you know, I'm trying to become a friend of TikTok at the moment, and I looked at this thing, came up, and there was this woman with her boobs going like this, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm looking, going, what am I watching here? And I showed my son. He said, "Mum, that's AI. That's an AI." I went, and of course, it's like obvious that it's not real. It's there's something plastic about it, and so I just really I don't think the human being and the human storytelling will ever go away. That spirit will never be put down. We just have to go through like the next phase of learning how to deal with technology. In the same way that, we had to learn when there was film camera. When film camera, sound became a thing.
Very true.
It's just the next iteration.
And which is why I think live theater is so important, because
Yeah.
AI doesn't exist in that
yeah.
world.
Yeah.
And so it's absolutely like...
Well, I'm scared. What about this ABBA show they've got where it's holograms
I
and stuff?
know.
Yeah, I know. You
Yeah,
had
I
Tupac on the
know.
hologram. What the hell?
Yeah,
He's
I
dead a long time
know.
ago. And Tim, what do you have in your little bag of tricks?
My little bag of tricks. So every episode we pull out a little bit of memorabilia.
Oh, my God. Yes. Memorabilia, what's going to be? Woohoo! Oh, Mr. Squiggle! Miss Pat.
Miss Pat.
Oh, Mr. Squiggle. Oh, that's so beautiful.
So do you remember him?
Still
I
got the
do
tag on.
remember
It's so good.
him. Now, this is one of my dearest friends is Jennifer Lovell, who was in Prisoner, and I actually was given her apartment because she was in the cast going out. I was in the cast coming in, and she gave me her tea set. This is just, anyway, we've been friends ever since. And it was her mother that was Miss Pat.
That's right.
Oh,
Yeah, was one of there was Miss Pat, Miss Gina, I think was another one.
Yeah,
I
Miss
don't
Pat,
know.
Miss
Yeah,
Pat.
so he'd grab him by the pencil. He was on TV for something like 40 years.
Yeah.
I think in 59, so countless generations.
Countless generations.
of Australian kids got to see him draw his.
Bring him back.
He should
Bring
come
him
back.
back. Bring Mr. Squiggle back.
bring him back. Bring him back.
And it isn't it the caterpillar tractor?
Oh,
No.
what was his
yes,
name?
I remember that.
Gus or something? No, what
Something,
was
yeah.
his name?
No,
Oh, he was yes, look fantastic.
The
I do
snail
remember.
or the tractor?
No,
No, he was
it was
a
the
caterpillar.
and he
He was a tractor.
He used to do that.
Gruff. No.
Or something like that. We'll have to find out. We'll have to find out.
There was
Bill the steam shovel, that's
There
it.
you
But the
go.
blackboard, he was really grumpy
He
too.
was
remember?
really great. Yeah. Oh, that's so lovely.
And we've
How
also
amazing.
got this. Look at this. This is a TV week from 1982,
Oh my God.
and Pamela Stevenson's on the cover.
Yes.
Some of the headlines are Sullivan Star turns his back on war, and we've got a Sullivan Star with us today. We forgot about the girl who will replace Linda Stoner. I'm not sure what that is.
That's Linda on the cover.
That's Pamela Stevenson on the
Is that
cover.
Pamela? Oh, okay. Well, it
can you
looks
see it?
like Linda Stoner.
And we'll just have a little. Who's the TV week pinup is Mark Lee from Gallipoli.
Extraordinary.
Oh, here's some old friends. On the inside, champagne cricket is the prisoner girl's style.
Show me.
So all these girls from Prisoner are playing cricket on the beach. Who have we got?
So that's like 4 years before I joined the show.
Asking the Prisoner team to play a little cricket is like asking Dennis Lilly to take up acting. Patsy, who plays Governor Davidson in the Network 10 series, used to play cricket in England.
Come on.
Oh, there's Betty. There's Ellie. Ellie's at the wickets.
There's Ellie, dear Ellie.
Oh, that's funny.
Elspeth.
And what else have we got? We've got, so you can have a little quick look at that because Aussie Ostrich's Play Corner. But what fascinates me about looking at these old things, I've got to stop saying the word old,
Yeah, I was about to say, you're not that old.
is the TV guide and the amount of Australian content compared to today and scripted content. Because, of course, there was no... look, 7:30, Sons and Daughters, Together Tonight. Prisoners not on, actually. And you know what actually is on? At 8:30 in Prisoners' time slot, a show called Punishment.
Oh, yes.
Which
They
is-
did that. That was a male prison
Yeah.
show. Didn't last very long.
No. But, you know...
Yeah.
And this is January, so this was actually when the non-ratings were on, so
Yeah.
all the shows weren't.
Yep.
But there was still actually so much content that I think shaped... I don't know, you know, like what happened?
Was there in the 80s, was there a quota? Like, was Australian content?
There was the
look at that.
children's one, so that's why we got all
yes,
those shows like
that's
Shell's
right.
Neighbourhood and Razzle
Miraculous
Dazzle.
Mellow.
Yes.
Round the Twist.
Around the twist.
Round the
yes, back in those days.
But you know what we do have is like that incredible adaptation of Boy Swallows Universe that Joel Edgerton did.
Oh,
on
yes, I haven't
Netflix.
seen that yet. Is it
You've
good?
got unbelievably good.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's Netflix money.
Yeah, yeah,
You know,
yeah,
so you know we've got that today. But yeah, the Australian. I mean, look, I don't. It's a little bit woe is me. But the roles for actors, white middle class actors like me, plummet after you're 40, and so I went into teaching acting. But where are the? I don't really know where television is going today. Like, it seems that there is a lot of Australian content on there.
Yeah.
But is it how much is it as much as it was in the 80s?
What would you like to see happen? Final question. What would you like to see happen in the Australian
well,
film and TV industry?
I
if you could
really-
call it an industry.
I mean, I think
I'm
that
joking.
I think that the industry is in the process of responding to this very fast growth of how many screens we can put our material out on, and it's always that question of not getting our voice swallowed up by Hollywood or the bigger industries. It's always that fight for funding to develop our stories. I think that just that point of money from Netflix, like all of those streaming platforms are content hungry. So if we're smart and we work out how to leverage off this incredible plethora of performance spaces we've got now. Like, for instance, I don't understand why we lost radio drama. Surely radio drama would have been the very, with podcasts, why isn't that suddenly a source of, because that's where we would develop our Australian story, right? Because it's cheap to create that.
Yeah.
But the ABC radio drama just disappeared. But why isn't that not podcasts and recordings of Australian content?
The first Australian soapy was Blue Hills, which is radio.
radio.
And it went, and all those people came from that. Yeah.
And it that evolved from vaudeville. So we are just in the process of the next evolution. I've got if I can do a plug for my dear friend Louise Iverson, she and Peter Houghton, who are funniest two people on the planet, actors of a certain age, like me. And they've just gone, we've got to get onto this social media thing. And they're doing a thing called Ron and June Unspoiled. Little plug for my friends here.
Let's get her on. Would she come on? Would she come on and talk about
100%
it?
should come on.
Okay.
Oh, my God.
We'll
And
get
she's
on.
gone, I've just got to learn how to use this social media phenomenon so that I can get the audience to generate a interest in the quality skills and crafts we've got. And they do these 45-second little grabs released every Wednesday and Sunday. Hilarious. They're farmers. Ron and June are farmers, and they've got gifted this house, and they're going to do it as an Airbnb, and they get celebrities so they can get unspoiled. And they do this, they set it up, they do a gag, and then they do a close. It's a little 3-act structure in 45 seconds. The skill is incredible, and they've just gone, we've got to give it a go. And
Good, yeah.
it's inspiring.
Yeah,
So I
absolutely.
think that's what we got to kind of be creative enough and resourceful enough to go, let's think wider, let's think bigger, let's think how we can, without losing the integrity of the time it takes to develop the craft.
That's right. That's right.
It's I worry that kids are being launched into this universe without the skill to look after themselves when they're in this.
And then, of course, everything's on YouTube and all that kind of stuff. You can do anything now. So
Still got to be good.
Yeah, it's still going to be good, and people are
all-
still
yeah.
turning up and wanting to see movies where they're telling stories with authenticity and that still get back to what we were talking about at the very beginning, that speaks to us, that moves us, that actually inspires us.
Yeah.
So, we don't want to lose that capacity,
Yeah.
do we?
No.
Do we, Mrs.
No. No. No.
You haven't let him go.
I know.
Oh,
No,
Jesus.
what a delight. Thank you. This
No,
is
thank you
what a delight.
Thank you so much for coming
Thank
down.
you so much.
We
for
were
inviting
trying
me.
to find a TV week with you on the cover.
I never got there.
You never got
I
one.
never got there. It was scheduled for a couple of times. I think I even had a photo shoot, but then it never got there. But I did win a penguin, so
Yeah, that's
yeah.
good.
They always used to do, TV Week always used to get the prisoner ladies and then glam them up,
Glam
do their
'em up,
makeup,
yeah.
to put them in an exotic location because, of course, on the show, no one wore
No,
makeup.
it was
course,
just
it
a bit
was
of part
all-
of that was it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
it was
yeah.
like, well, the attractive ladies, let's
Yeah.
so it'd be these lovely gossip
Yeah.
spreads.
In real life.
Yeah, that's right.
at the Melbourne Cup or something like that.
Yeah,
That's right. That's right.
Well,
What a joy it's been. Thank you so much, both
Miss
of you.
Glenda Linscott, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I loved working with you. I liked you teaching me, and I've learned so much from you. And thank you so much for coming on, Tim and
Cherry, but I'm Tim.
No, I'm Terry. I know. I'm just saying. That's probably tricky.
You know, the first time, because this is the first time we've actually kind of met, but we've sort of met, bumped into each other. And the very first time, now that I think about it, was 25 years ago. I went to the airport to pick someone up for a big party.
Oh.
And she was a cast member from that show.
Oh.
And as I was there putting the money into the thing at Tullamarine, I turned around and you're standing there and you had this baby, like kind of thing. And I said, oh yeah, she's from Prisoner too. Everyone was going to the 21st.
Oh, so that would have been Raph. It was 5 weeks old.
And then, so I went with Jude Curry.
Right.
And then everyone, we were all at this party drinking or whatever, and Jude's on the stage and the whole audience just started going, Nolene. And you just turned to me and you just turned around and said, is that Jude Curry? And I went, yeah.
Wow, that was 25 years ago.
Yeah, and I said, I saw you at the airport this morning. You had a baby. And you said, yeah, I gave birth 2 weeks ago.
That's right. That's right.
There you go.
Right.
I don't know why I still remember that. Yeah.
Oh, my God.
So that was
2000.
Yeah. So it was 25 years ago.
Wow.
We are 2025.
Yes, that child is now a man.
That's
and
what I
he's
was just
6
thinking.
foot.
Exactly.
Has a
Is he
moustache.
taller than you now?
Way taller than me. Like hugging my sons like this is like so good.
Now you've got to look up at
I'm
somebody.
look up at them. It's going to make this so good. So good.
I love that. Oh,
Yeah.
it's been a pleasure. It's been
thank
a
you.
pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for coming in, Glenda. It has been a pleasure. You've had a good time, Terry?
I've had an amazing time. I mean, I've always wanted to, of course, see her again, also to work with her again. So maybe in the future we might work together
we
again.
Might do that.
Okay.
Yeah, you never
Let's
know.
talk.
Yeah,
Get my
let's
people
talk.
to talk to your people.
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
inspired. I'll go home and write something now.
I'm sure you will. I'm sure you will. You're pretty
What do you
bright,
think,
actually.
Mr. Squiggle? You too?
Yes. I think you should write something. Write something for these two beautiful people.
Thank you for joining us again today for Tim and Terry. See you next time. Please subscribe. Send us a comment. Give us a comment.
Like it,
Give us a like.
everything. And thank you for joining us again. Thank you so much, and we'll see you very soon.
Mwah.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.